Alex sat in the crowded spaceship, his mind swirling with thoughts. He had just received the most unusual assignment in his career as a diplomat. His mission? To travel to the alien world of Xenothar and meet its queen, Zarathia. The message from his superior had been clear. "This is a delicate matter, Alex. Be careful. The queen is dangerous." The word dangerous echoed in his mind as he gazed out at the endless stars. Alex had traveled to many alien worlds before, but nothing had ever prepared him for Xenothar. He had heard rumors about Queen Zarathia, stories that painted her as a fearsome, powerful ruler who crushed anyone who threatened her throne. Some said she could destroy entire civilizations with a single command. Others claimed that her anger was so legendary that even the bravest warriors trembled in her presence. But Alex wasn't scared. He had faced many challenges before, and the idea of meeting a ruler who was known for being dangerous intrigued him. He wasn't there to fight, he was there to talk, to build bridges between their worlds. Still, the warnings weighed heavily on him as the ship approached the planet. As the spacecraft descended toward Xenothar's capital city, Alex felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. The city was a beautiful blend of towering spires and ancient structures, filled with a sense of both power and history. But it was also eerily quiet, as if the city itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The ship landed gently on the landing pad, and Alex was escorted by armed guards to the palace. As they walked through the palace gates, the air grew thicker with tension. The guards whispered to one another, casting nervous glances toward the inner chambers. Alex tried to remain calm, but he couldn't ignore the feeling that he was walking into the lion's den. Inside, the palace was magnificent, every wall covered in intricate alien artwork, and the floor gleaming with a polished, otherworldly glow. The air smelled faintly of spices, and soft, haunting music echoed through the hallways. Despite the beauty, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that danger was lurking behind every corner. They arrived at the throne room, where Zarathia awaited him. The massive doors creaked open, revealing a grand hall with a raised platform at the far end. There, sitting upon a golden throne, was the queen herself. Zarathia was everything Alex had imagined, and more. Her presence was commanding, and yet, there was something oddly graceful about her. She sat tall and proud, her eyes glowing faintly as she studied him. Her skin was a deep, almost metallic shade of violet, and her long black hair flowed like liquid silk around her shoulders. She was beautiful, but there was a coldness to her expression that sent a chill down Alex's spine. She didn't smile as Alex entered the room. Instead, her piercing eyes seemed to judge him, as if she could see straight through him. He couldn't help but feel a strange sense of unease despite her beauty. This was no ordinary queen. This was Zarathia, the one who had earned her reputation as the most dangerous ruler in the galaxy. "Welcome, Ambassador Alex." Zarathia's voice rang out, smooth yet sharp, like a blade hidden in velvet. "I trust your journey was comfortable." Alex nodded, keeping his voice steady. "Yes, Your Majesty, thank you for having me." Zarathia's gaze softened just a fraction. "I have heard much about you, Ambassador. They say you are one of the best diplomats Earth has to offer. I hope you can live up to that reputation." Her words were polite, but there was a challenge in her tone, as if she was testing him. Alex knew he had to be careful. He had dealt with powerful leaders before, but something about Zarathia felt different. It wasn't just her reputation that made her intimidating. It was the way she carried herself, as if she could snap her fingers and command the universe to obey. "I will do my best to represent Earth well, Your Majesty," Alex replied, standing tall before her. "I hope we can find common ground between our worlds." Zarathia's eyes narrowed, and for a moment Alex thought he saw a flicker of something behind her cold exterior. Something like sadness or longing. It was gone before he could make sense of it, replaced by the sharp, calculating look she was known for. "You have no idea how difficult it is, Ambassador," she said, her voice low. "To rule a planet, to protect your people, and to always be alone. But that is the burden of a queen. I don't expect you to understand." Alex was taken aback by her honesty. He had expected her to be all power and no vulnerability. But now he saw a woman who had been shaped by the weight of her responsibilities, someone who was carrying a deep sorrow beneath the surface. "I can't pretend to understand, Your Majesty," he said, his voice gentler than before. "But I am here to listen. I believe that understanding is the key to peace." Zorathia looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then unexpectedly she smiled. Just a small, fleeting smile that made her seem almost human. "I hope so, Ambassador," she said softly. "I truly hope so." Alex wasn't sure what to make of that smile. Was it genuine? Or was it just another mask? He had no answers, but he was certain of one thing. This mission would be nothing like he had expected. As he left the throne room later that day, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Zorathia than the stories had led on. He had been warned about her dangerous nature, but now for the first time he was starting to see her as something else. Someone who wasn't just a queen of fear and power, but a woman with a deep, untold story. The question lingered in his mind as he lay in his quarters that night. Could a ruler known for her cruelty really have a heart? And if so, would Alex be the one to uncover it? The next day, Alex was summoned to the palace again. As he walked through the grand corridors of the palace, his mind raced with thoughts of what had happened the day before. He had expected a cold, ruthless ruler, but Queen Zorathia had shown him a side of herself that was completely unexpected. He couldn't stop thinking about the brief moment when she had smiled at him. Had it been genuine? Or had it been a fleeting gesture meant to keep him off guard? The guards led him to the throne room once more. The atmosphere felt heavier today, as if the weight of the entire palace rested on his shoulders. But this time there was something different in the air, an energy that he couldn't quite put his finger on. When he entered the room, his eyes immediately found Zorathia. She was standing by the window, gazing out at the vast alien landscape. Her back was turned to him, and for a moment she appeared lost in thought, as if the world around her didn't exist. The golden light from the sun outside bathed her in a soft glow, making her look like a statue, a perfect, untouchable figure. But as Alex approached, she turned to face him, her piercing eyes locking onto his. "Ambassador Alex," she said, her voice warm but still carrying the weight of authority. "I trust your stay has been comfortable?" Her greeting was polite, but there was something in the way she said it that made Alex feel like he was being watched, like she could see right through him. He nodded, trying to steady his nerves. "Thank you, Your Majesty. It has been enlightening." Alex paused, choosing his words carefully. "I didn't expect to find such a beautiful planet." Zorathia's lips curved into a small smile, though it was more of a soft smirk than a full expression of joy. "Beauty can be deceiving," she replied. "Xanathar is a land of power and history, but it is also a land of secrets." Alex raised an eyebrow, curious. "What do you mean by secrets, Your Majesty?" Zorathia motioned for him to sit, and Alex obliged, settling into the plush chair in front of her. She walked around the room slowly, her long robes flowing gracefully. As she moved, "I mean that every great power has a cost," she said, her voice low and almost wistful. "My people have paid that price, and so have I. You may look at me and see a ruler, but what you don't see is the burden that comes with it, the loneliness, the isolation." Alex felt a pang of sympathy. He had never imagined the queen in such a light. He had heard the stories, the rumors of her cruelty, but now he saw a different side of her. Zorathia wasn't just a powerful ruler. She was a woman who had been shaped by her own struggles, someone who had been forced to put up walls around her heart. "I didn't expect to hear that from you, Your Majesty," Alex said, his tone softer than before. "I've only heard about your strength, your power. But now it seems there's more to you than that." Zorathia stopped in her tracks, turning to face him once more. There was a flicker of something in her eyes, an emotion that Alex couldn't quite place. For a moment the room was silent. It felt as though time had frozen, and Alex wondered if he had said the wrong thing. But then, Zorathia spoke again, her voice quieter this time. "Do you know what it's like to be a queen, Ambassador? To Rule over millions of lives to make decisions that will shape the future of your people? Every choice is weighed with consequences. And yet I am alone. The weight of my throne is too much to bear, and I have no one to share it with. There was a raw honesty in her words that took Alex by surprise. He had never imagined that someone like Zorathia, a ruler so feared and respected, could feel this way. But there it was, the queen, stripped of her armor, showing him a side of herself that few had ever seen. I can't say I know what it's like to be a queen, Alex said carefully, choosing his words. But I do know what it's like to be alone. Sometimes the weight of expectations can feel unbearable. The world expects you to be strong, to never show weakness. Days passed, and Alex found himself spending more and more time with Queen Zorathia. Their conversations became less formal, more personal. It was as if the walls that had once separated them were slowly crumbling. Zorathia was no longer the cold, untouchable ruler. She was still the queen, but she was also a woman. Someone who had lived through unimaginable challenges and had learned to hide her emotions behind a mask of strength. The more Alex learned about her, the more he understood the weight of her role. Zenithar, her planet, was a powerful and ancient civilization with technologies and traditions that far surpassed Earth's. But it wasn't just the power that kept Zorathia in control. It was her ability to make hard decisions, to rule with an iron fist. Yet as he spent time with her, he could see that the fierceness of her leadership came from a deep fear of weakness, fear of betrayal, and fear of the unknown. One evening, Alex was invited to dinner in the royal gardens. The sky above was a brilliant mix of purple and orange, as the twin suns of Zenithar dipped below the horizon. The air was warm and filled with the scent of alien flowers that Alex couldn't name. The table was set with delicacies from across the galaxy, strange fruits, glowing liquids, and roasted meats. But despite the beauty of the evening, Alex could see that Zorathia's mind was elsewhere. She hardly touched her food. "I've been thinking," Zorathia said suddenly, her voice soft but heavy with meaning, "about the stories you've heard of me, about the queen everyone fears, the ruler who doesn't show mercy." Alex looked at her carefully, wondering where this conversation was going. "What about them?" he asked gently. Zorathia took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the stars. "Do you know what it's like, Ambassador, to live a life where everyone is afraid of you? To have people bow to you not because they respect you, but because they fear what you might do if they don't?" Alex felt a pang of sympathy. He had never thought about it that way. He had heard the stories too, the ones about Zorathia's ruthlessness. But now, he saw a woman who was haunted by her own actions, a ruler who had been forced into a role that stripped her of everything she had ever wanted. "I can't imagine," Alex said softly, "but I can see that it's not easy." Zorathia nodded slowly, her fingers tracing the edge of her glass. "I've ruled Zenithar for many years, and I've done things, terrible things, but not because I wanted to. I did them because I had no choice. My people needed me to be strong, to make decisions that others could not. And in the process, I became something else, someone no one could approach. No one could trust me, not even my closest advisors." Alex didn't know how to respond. He had come to Zenithar to negotiate, to build a relationship between Earth and the alien planet. But now, as he listened to Zorathia, he realized how much more complicated this was. This wasn't just a diplomatic mission. It was a chance to help someone who had been carrying the weight of the universe alone, someone who needed understanding more than anything. "I don't think anyone can truly understand what it's like to be in your position," Alex said. "But maybe it's not too late to change that. Maybe it's not too late for you to let someone in." Zorathia looked at him, her eyes narrowing slightly, as if she was considering his words. Then, she shook her head, a bitter smile, crossing her lips. "You don't understand, Ambassador. No one can help me. I am the queen. I have to remain strong. If I let my guard down, if I let anyone see who I really am, it will be my downfall. I will lose everything." Alex reached across the table, his hand resting gently on hers. You don't have to lose everything, Zorathia. There are other ways to be strong. Being vulnerable doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. She looked down at his hand, her gaze softening. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the whisper of the wind through the alien trees. Then Zorathia withdrew her hand, a quiet sadness in her eyes. I used to believe that, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I used to believe that being open, being vulnerable, was a way to connect with others, but then I lost everything. My family, my people, and the one person I thought I could trust betrayed me. Alex felt a chill run through him. Zorathia's words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Betrayed you? He asked, his voice filled with curiosity. Zorathia's eyes grew distant, as if she were reliving the past. It happened many years ago. Xenothar was in turmoil, torn apart by external threats. I needed to make alliances, but there was one person I trusted above all others, my closest advisor, a man named Valen. He promised to help me restore peace, but in the end, he betrayed me. He plotted against me, using my trust to gain power for himself. He almost destroyed everything I worked so hard to build. Alex's heart ached for her. He could see how deeply the betrayal had affected her, how it had shaped the queen into the woman she was now, strong, but broken inside. I'm sorry, Zorathia, Alex said quietly. No one should have to go through that. I can't imagine how much pain that must have caused. Zorathia gave a small, bitter laugh. Pain is something I've learned to live with. It's a part of ruling, but it's also a part of being human. The two sat in silence for a long while, each lost in their own thoughts. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, as if offering some kind of hope to the troubled queen. Alex knew that Zorathia's story wasn't over yet. There was still so much more to learn about her, about the secrets she carried deep within her. Finally, Zorathia spoke again, her voice soft and vulnerable. I've told you this because I don't want to be alone anymore. I've spent so long pushing people away, pushing everyone away because I was afraid of getting hurt. But now I'm not so sure. Alex nodded, his heart full of empathy for the queen. You don't have to be alone, Zorathia. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. Then, for the first time since Alex had arrived on Xenothar, she allowed herself to soften, to show a small glimpse of the person she had buried so deep inside. Thank you, she whispered. Maybe I can learn to trust again. Maybe with time I can learn to believe that love isn't just something I can never have. Alex smiled, his heart swelling with hope. I think you can. Alex had always known that politics could be dangerous, but he had never experienced it like this. His bond with Queen Zorathia had deepened over the past few days, but with each passing moment, he could feel the tension in the palace growing. There was a shadow hanging over Xenothar, a quiet danger that Alex couldn't ignore. Zorathia had confided in him about her past, her betrayal by Valen, the advisor who had almost destroyed her. She had shown him a side of herself that few had ever seen, and Alex had promised her that he would be there, that he would help her. But as the days went on, he began to realize that the threats she faced weren't just from external forces, they were much closer to home. It started with small whispers. At first, Alex thought they were just rumors, the usual palace gossip that came with any court. But soon he began to notice things. The guards were more tense, their eyes constantly scanning the crowds, always on alert. The servants seemed nervous, as if they were afraid to speak too freely. And there was a shift in Zorathia's behavior. She had become more withdrawn, more cautious. One evening, Alex was summoned to the palace's inner chambers where Zorathia was waiting. The room was dimly lit, the only light coming from the soft glow of alien crystals embedded in the walls. Zorathia sat at the head of the table, her face shadowed with worry. Her usual calm composure was gone, replaced by a rare look of unease. "Ambassador," she said quietly as Alex entered, her voice barely above a whisper. I need your help. Alex took a seat across from her, his brow furrowed in concern. What's going on, Your Majesty? Zarathia looked around the room before speaking again, as if making sure they weren't being overheard. There are traitors within my court, she said, her voice laced with a mix of anger and fear. People who are plotting against me, against everything I've worked for. Alex's heart skipped a beat. He had suspected something was wrong, but hearing it confirmed made the danger all too real. Who are they? He asked, his voice steady but with an edge of urgency. I don't know yet, Zarathia replied, her eyes dark with worry. But I have my suspicions. There are those who want to see me fall, those who think they can do a better job of leading, Xanathar. They believe I've become too weak, too trusting, they're using my kindness as a weakness. Alex could see the pain in her eyes. She had trusted these people, and now they were betraying her. He could understand why she had become so cautious, so guarded over the years. But this time, it was different. This time, she wasn't alone. Whoever they are, we'll find them, Alex said firmly. You don't have to face this on your own. Zarathia looked at him, her gaze softening for a moment. Thank you, Alex. But this is not something I can handle with force alone. I need someone who understands strategy, someone who can help me uncover the truth without drawing too much attention. I'll do whatever it takes, Alex promised. Tell me what we need to do. Zarathia leaned forward, her voice lowering to a near whisper. We need to find out who's behind this conspiracy. There are whispers among the court that the rebellion is already brewing. Some of my most trusted advisors are involved, and if we don't act quickly, it could be too late. Alex nodded, his mind racing with the possibilities. The days that followed were filled with tension. Alex could feel the growing danger in the palace, the quiet whispers of rebellion that seemed to grow louder with each passing hour. Zarathia's enemies were close, hidden in plain sight, and Alex knew that they had to act quickly if they were to stop the conspiracy before it was too late. Zarathia had grown quieter, more focused. Her usual composure remained, but there was a new sharpness to her movements, a determination that Alex hadn't seen before. It was clear that the betrayal of her advisors, especially the mention of Valen's name, had reignited a fire within her. She wasn't just a queen anymore. She was a woman determined to protect her throne, her people, and herself. Alex could see the weight she carried. The responsibility of ruling a planet like Xanathar was never easy, and now, with the threat of betrayal looming, it was harder than ever. But despite the danger, Zarathia had made one thing clear. She wasn't going to back down. Not now. Not ever. Alex, Zarathia said one evening as they met in her private chambers. The room was dimly lit, the soft hum of energy systems filling the silence. She looked at him, her eyes filled with both concern and resolve. I need your help. I can't do this alone. Alex nodded. He had been waiting for her to say this, waiting for her to trust him fully. We'll do this together, he said firmly. You're not alone, Zarathia. Not anymore. Zarathia took a deep breath, her gaze turning distant for a moment. I fought alone for so long, Alex, it's hard to trust anyone anymore. But you, she paused, her voice softening. You've shown me that not everyone is out to hurt me. Not everyone is using me for their own gain. Alex felt a warmth spread through him at her words. He had come to Xanathar with the mission, to build relations, to bridge the gap between Earth and the alien world. But now it was so much more than that. He had come to care for Zarathia, not just as a ruler, but as a person. And as much as he tried to keep his emotions in check, he couldn't deny it any longer. He cared for her deeply. You don't have to fight alone, Alex said, his voice full of quiet conviction. I'm here, and I'll stand by you no matter what happens. Zarathia's eyes softened, a rare smile tugging at the corners of her lips. It wasn't the cold, calculating smile of a queen. It was a genuine smile, one that reached her eyes and made her look for the first time like the woman she truly was. Thank you, Alex, she whispered, I don't know what I would do without you. The bond between them had grown stronger over the past few weeks. They were no longer just allies. They were something more, partners in a battle for the future of Zenithar. And for the first time in years, Zerathia felt something that had long eluded her. Hope. But the danger was still very real. The rebellion within the palace was close to boiling over. The conspirators had grown bolder, and Alex could feel the tension in the air. Every time he walked through the palace halls, there was something in the way people looked at him now, a mix of fear and suspicion. The traitors were watching them, waiting for the right moment to strike. The night came when Alex and Zerathia decided to take action. They couldn't wait any longer. The rebellion had to be stopped before it could destroy everything. They gathered. A small group of loyal guards, people they could trust. People who had not yet been corrupted by the lies of the conspirators. Together, they began to formulate a plan. They would confront the traitors head-on, uncover the truth, and bring the rebellion to an end. As they met in Zerathia's war room, a quiet urgency filled the air. The room was filled with maps, strategies, and intelligence reports from various parts of the kingdom. Zerathia stood at the head of the table, her posture strong and commanding as she addressed the group. "We can no longer wait for this rebellion to play out on its own," she said, her voice steady but fierce. "We know that the traitors are in the council. We know that they're plotting to take my throne. Tonight, we strike." Alex stood by her side, watching as she spoke. He had seen the strength in her before, but now, it was different. She was no longer just a queen. She was a warrior, and he knew that she would do whatever it took to protect her people and her kingdom. "I'll lead the guards to the council chambers," one of the loyal guards said, his voice determined. "We'll secure the doors and make sure no one escapes." "Good," Zerathia said, nodding. "But we need to move quickly. If they suspect anything, they'll scatter, and we'll lose our chance." The plan was set. They would infiltrate the council chambers, confront the traitors, and expose them for the cowards they were. It was a dangerous move, but it was the only way to stop the rebellion before it spiraled out of control. As the group made their way to the council chambers, the palace felt unnaturally quiet. The halls were dark, the soft glow of the crystals casting long shadows on the walls. Alex could feel his heart racing in his chest. This was the moment of truth. There would be no turning back after tonight. They reached the council chambers, the heavy doors looming before them. Zerathia motioned for the guards to stand back, and Alex stepped forward, his hand on the door handle. The tension in the air was thick, and for a moment, it felt like time had stopped. This was the moment that would decide the fate of Zenithar. Zerathia turned to Alex, her gaze steady and resolute. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice soft but full of meaning. Alex nodded, his heart pounding. "I'm with you, Zerathia. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." With a deep breath, Zerathia pushed open the doors. Inside the council chamber, the conspirators were gathered, their faces filled with surprise as they saw the queen and her loyal guards enter. They had been caught off guard, their plans exposed. The air was thick with tension as Zerathia stepped forward, her presence commanding the room. "You thought you could betray me," Zerathia said, her voice cold and unwavering. "You thought you could take my throne, destroy everything I've built. But you were wrong. I will never let traitors destroy my people. You will face justice." The room fell silent as the traitors exchanged nervous glances. There was no escape. Now, they had been caught, and their plans had failed. Zerathia turned to Alex, her gaze softening for just a moment. "Thank you," she whispered. "You've given me the strength to do what I couldn't do alone." Alex gave her a small smile, his heart swelling with pride. "We did this together." The morning after the rebellion was crushed, the palace was eerily quiet. The sounds of footsteps echoing in the halls, the whispering of servants, and the gentle hum of the palace's energy system seemed louder now, as if the weight of the past few days had finally come to an end. Zerathia stood by the window in her private chamber, Gazing out at the sprawling city of Zenithar below, the twin suns were rising, casting their warm golden light across the land. It was beautiful, peaceful, everything that Zenithar had once been before the shadows of rebellion had threatened to tear it apart. The calm was a welcome change, but it wasn't without its cost. The traitors had been caught. Their rebellion stopped before it could destroy everything Zorathia had worked for. Some of the conspirators had been brought to justice, while others had fled, their names marked for exile. But despite their defeat, Zorathia knew that the scars of the rebellion would linger for a long time. Trust, once broken, was difficult to rebuild. Still, as she stood there, the warmth of the sun on her face, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The palace no longer felt like a prison. The weight of her responsibilities, not as heavy. There was a future for Zenithar, a future where love, trust, and unity could flourish. "Good morning, Your Majesty," Alex said, his voice soft as he entered the room. He had been with her throughout the entire ordeal, offering support, encouragement, and a sense of calm in the chaos. They had faced the rebellion together, and now they were ready to face the future. Zorathia turned to him, offering him a genuine smile, one that reached her eyes. It was the kind of smile she had never shown before, the kind of smile that only came when someone had finally found peace within themselves. "Good morning, Alex," she said, her voice steady but warm. "I never thought I'd see a day like this. The palace feels different, lighter." Alex smiled, stepping closer to her. "You've made it different. You've taken back control not just of the palace but of your life." Zorathia looked at him, her eyes softening. She had come so far from the queen who had ruled with fear, from the woman who had closed herself off from the world. In Alex, she had found someone who understood her, someone who saw her not just as a ruler, but as a person, someone who had shown her that it was possible to lead with kindness, to trust again, and most importantly, to love. "I don't know what I would have done without you, Alex," she said quietly, her voice filled with sincerity. "You've been by my side through everything. I don't think I could have done this without you." Alex reached out, gently taking her hand in his. "You've done it all, Zorathia. I've just been here to help you see the strength you already had inside you. You don't need to be alone anymore." She looked at him, a quiet realization settling in her chest. She had spent so many years convincing herself that she had to carry the weight of the galaxy alone. But now, with Alex by her side, she understood that she didn't have to. She didn't have to be the cold, distant queen who ruled with fear. She could be the queen who ruled with love, with understanding, and with the support of the people.